right. Hello and welcome to Plugging Along, or possibly Before the Shadow. But welcome to Plugging Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugging Along, we added quest hints for each of the Staffing the Market quests in Bywater to the Festival Buddy plugin. Today, I'd like to work through some usability issues I've seen while using Festival Buddy over the last week of festivals. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions, and let's see. Let me go ahead and move some windows around here. All right, yes. Before the Shadow is an excellent name for an expansion. I'm really pumped to see what kind of me-specific content there is. But I guess in the meantime, let's pop on over to the game here. Okay, so Festival Buddy has been really interesting to play with during the Farmers Fair Festival. The way Festival Buddy was designed, it looks like, is that... Oh, that's interesting. Is my desktop audio just quiet? Okay, yeah. The way it works is that it is intent on showing you some status effects. For instance, at the Harvest Math Festival, there are bobbing for apples and opening a gem crate and all that kind of thing. And it'll show you or tries to show you your status on those. Can you go and do those things now for a character? And it also tries to show you information about the current quest that you're on. So for instance, in the Farmers Fair, you might want help for a shopping list. And so it gives, oops, let's move that out from under me. It gives contextual help for a quest. It might give more information for the festival as a whole in this top space. I haven't really come up with something I'd like to put in there, but I suppose if we could track whether or not you've done your mushroom hunt or other things that day, that would be kind of cool. But that brings a whole question of time and server time and whatnot. So that sounds hard. So not a this festival thing, but that's an interesting idea. Is, oh, can I go do some of these once a day things like fishing at each of the 4 ponds? Have I done those? Mushrooms and whatnot. That could be interesting. But in the meantime, one of the things I noticed is I would like to have more than one quest assist running at a time. Specifically, the Fat Mayor quest with Will Whitfoot and the Bounder's Round, I think, Bounder Rounds, something. Let's go talk to Bounder Boffin over here. This quest over here, Bounder Rounds, that's the one. I'd like to be told that there's a drunk hobbit nearby while I'm working on one of the other quests. Same thing with the mayor. If the mayor asks for something while I'm busy filling one of the market lists, I'd like to know about that as well. But currently, the way the plugin works is that whatever quest you have active in this list, that is the only quest that we pay any attention to, not the other ones. So there's some things we can do about that. We could say, well, maybe this Fat Mayor quest is special. It's always active. That seems annoying. We could be a little bit more conscious of, did we see you pick up the quest, and did we see the quest either complete successfully or fail? And if so, then while you have the quest on, then okay, we'll go ahead and do it. Oh, hey, there. Errol says, oh, Faire then. Fight against plugin errors, try to solve them, and get a plugin as a reward. That sounds like excellent game content. We're Willow. Bounder Browns? Did I misspeak? I might have. Well, the Bounder Rounds. I keep wanting to pluralize that, Bounder's Rounds, but it is what it is. So, I would like some way to say, no, I want Fat Mayor to keep going until I turn it in, even if it's not the active quest here. And one of the things that came to mind was maybe like a little pin button here that if it's clicked, we will go ahead and pop the announcements regardless. And then that pin should also go away when you complete the quest, even if Fat Mayor is not selected. Same thing for Bounder Rounds. That seems like a cool place for this little pin mechanic to say, yeah, go ahead and keep it active even if I pick up something else. Now, that's feels like a setting we should go ahead and persist, like each time we get it. We should just go ahead and assume it is the same state as last time. So, oh, you pinned it last time? We'll go ahead and pin that automatically for you. And then what else have I come up with? Well, I was using this plugin. Oh, I've got some to-dos. Let me go ahead and pop it open in the code instead. Just visually, for these market quests... for these market quests, I conceptually have a much easier time remembering which ones require cabbage or apples or meat, and I just cannot for the life of me really stick in my head the other ones. And so conceptually, I need more help on the second set of 3 than I do on the first set of 3. First quest, great. Small cabbage, green apple, pork, done, right? But then you get into the second half and it's like, left, right, white, brown, I don't know. So one of the things I want to do, and I actually did it just to try it out, is have a separator between the first set of 3 and the second set of 3. I think that looks much easier. And also something Little Red had suggested was maybe go ahead and have some sort of an arrow symbol so that if you're not looking to read right, left, maybe you can just look at the arrow directions and see those. I've gone through a couple iterations of those, trying the left arrow on the left and the right arrow on the right. But then you kind of, if you're looking for the arrows, you kind of have to shift where you're looking each line, and that was annoying. And so here we are, all the arrows are on the left. I also tried them all on the right, but that put them farther apart from each other, it felt like. So that's something that's still being played around with, but I think that's nice. If you're just looking for arrows, you can just go right, left, right here. If the textual part's easier for you, it doesn't really change where that text is. And it's still right here, right, left, right. So that's already done. So let's go ahead and actually pop on over to our source control and commit that change. So first thing, let's come on into our quest strings. And then let's go ahead and undo the new lines so we can commit those separately. Okay. Come on in to, we're using fork for our source control tool wrapped around a Git repository. And we're going to go ahead and add arrows to the left and right text. That sounds good. So delete that from the to-do list and commit that on in. Oh, that's funny. I didn't actually commit that. All right. To-do changes. Done. Okay. Now, we've gone ahead and added those arrows in. Awesome. That's a freebie from my playing throughout the week. And we have, there we go, left, right, 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 left, right, right, left, left. Great. Those 3 there. Okay. Adding arrows. The next one was those new lines. Okay. So for these new lines, oops. Added new lines between, oh, what did I even say in the to-do? Separate first 3 and second 3. First 3 and second 3 in list quests by a new line. There we go. Okay. Fun. So, some other things. You know, I commented on this last week about how this list isn't being populated in an alphabetical order, and maybe that doesn't matter because most of the time you're just automatically selecting. And then I was doing things like picking up the Fat Mayor quest, and then having to go back and find the quest I was on before. So, I've changed my mind. I think this list should be alphabetized, made in alphabetical order. Now, that can be a little bit tricky to sort a table, so I'm going to have to remember how to do that. So, show quests in drop-down in alphabetical order. Sounds great. First of all, where on earth does that happen in the code? Well, not sure, but we do know what text is going in here. This is coming from the strings, and this is coming from, well, I'm going to say there's a quests area in here. Excellent. So, this is for each of the festivals, there's just a list here of things. Now, assuming we just want an alphabetical order, that should be pretty straightforward to get the results here, sort them, and then put them in. My concern is that right now we're using the order. Well, actually, no. Maybe I don't know that. Let's find out how we're doing it. I have concerns. So what we're looking for is quests, and that's going to be inside of something else, other. Really? Okay. So let's find other. Oh, that's a pretty generic thing. All right, let's find other in quotes. Okay, we're not being used that way. So the other way we might be used is other dot. Okay, that kind of narrows it down. Let's go ahead on in to. Wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Refresh debuff view. Refresh quest guide. All right, quest name. That sounds plausible. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, drop down quests. Okay, through just a random poking around, we've seen that there's a drop down called DD quests and drop down quests. And that is a local reformat quest. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we already have a local table into which we are passing things. Cool. Real question is, how do we alphabetize that? I don't know. Let's find out. So when I have a question like that for Lua, I'll often just do a basic search. Lua, sort table alphabetically. Cool. Lua. Now, StackOverflow.com is generally a very helpful site. Oftentimes it will have unanswer. Sometimes that answer is not correct, or because the site's been around for, I want to say like 15 years now, that answer can kind of get out of date if software versions have moved on. There's a thing I'm trying to do in my day job where the right way to do it 10 years ago is not the right way to do it now. Oh, Egg Arthur says table.sort is supported. Awesome. So Lua, table.sort. Let's take a look at that. Okay. It receives the array to be sorted plus an optional order function and specifications of the order function, and otherwise uses the default less than operator. Awesome. Well, I'm very curious to see what comes of that. So let's see. Do we have a dump function? We do have a dump function. Let's see what the output of this is then. Oh, where'd my main window go? Did I not have that really open? All right. So we have reformatted quests. So if we have local x equals table.sort, and we just give it the reformatted quests. And then we say dump x. I'm curious to see what that will look like. So I'm just going to unload, reload. Well, the answer is, I should probably turbine.string that, or turbine.shell.writeLine the result of that instead of just dumping that string on the floor. All right, nil. Does table.sort do it inline? It does. Okay. Great. I'm very used to immutable algorithms where you pass it in a thing and it doesn't change the thing, it just gives you a different thing out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and in that case, I want to see the structure of this twice. Once before I sort it and once after I sort it. Okay. So we're seeing the first one, because we are doing table.insert, we are implicitly getting numerical keys. And this is just in the order of iteration. So just whatever that table happens to dump out, if it's a hash tree underneath or some sort of binary tree underneath the covers, it's going to be maybe the same each time, maybe not. Let's see, unload, reload, nose request, okay. So what we want is this secondary version, which still has those numerical keys, but we can see everything's been done in alphabetical order, or at least unalphabetical order. It's a pretty naive ordering, but it'll be good enough for now. So that's a very simple solution. Let's do table.sort on the reformat quests before we pass it to dropdown, and now each one of those items is in the correct order. So a market list, a nosy request, a shopping list, a vendor list. Great. Now this is a naive sorting algorithm, so when we have a market list, a nosy request, you might have a more sophisticated system where you're like, let's ignore any ANs or A's or ANs or thes and just focus on the next word. But that's not what we're doing here. We're just doing character by character comparison. And A space comes before AP. So that's fine. For this purpose, it just needs to be in some sort of order instead of just randomized. Okay. So, in that case, let's come on in and count ourselves lucky on that one. Thanks, Bywater, for pointing that out. All right, so to do show quests in dropdown in alphabetical order. Lovely. And that's going to be a table.sort. I love it when it's just a one-line code change that just makes things better. All right. So, a thing that I was noticing as I was trying this across many characters was that by default, well, these quests aren't necessarily in a sensible order. I mean, Spring, Summer, Harvest Math, Yule, Anniversary, Farmer's Fair, it's a bit wonky. Now, we can actually fix this by because of a change we did recently. In the strings window, we have the festivals here, Spring, Summer, Harvest, Math, Yule. And because we were doing this instead of those magic numbers scattered all throughout, unless we missed any, we should be able to just say, you know what, Summer and Farmer's Fair are basically the same now. We should do those like this. And then Harvest Math would move on, and then Yule, and then Anniversary. Now, I'm a fan of putting Anniversary first, because it's the anniversary. If we're going to be reordering things, maybe it makes sense to do that as well. And if that's the case, maybe it would look more like this. Although that raises the question, how are those getting ordered? Okay, let's see if that affects the order of this at all. Oh, that's not a good idea because we're just saving out the selected one by number. Okay, yep, that's a bad idea. No wonder. So a display order capability would be more than just changing those numbers, unless you just accept that people's save files are going to be a little messed up. There's not a lot that gets persisted out in the save file. But that's an idea. Now it is possible to write a conversion function where you're like, oh, we're on version 1 of the save file. Okay, as we convert to version 2, fix the numbers as they are. But that's way more complicated than I was thinking for just a very simple UI change. Okay, other thing I was noticing though was by default it opens on Spring, the very first one, because you don't have a setting. And if you don't go around and fix that, we're only checking for these quests in the quest channel. And I was thinking, why? Why aren't we checking against all of the quests? It doesn't take that much more effort. If I accept the quest Bounder Rounds, then kind of by definition, we're not in the Spring Festival. And I don't know of any quests that this plugin has that overlap between different festivals. So I don't think that would cause a problem. Yeah, Flying's gone fishing. Too much festival. Cool, okay. Excellent. So harvest math, none of those look like they overlap. Yule, none of those look like they overlap. We've got the anniversary, great, and Hobnanigans is its own special thing. So yeah, I think as long as we're looking at quests, we might as well just say, hey, if we're on the wrong festival, let's change to the right festival. Now that might be a little bit harder, and what I want to do for testing purposes is have a section here in the debug options where we can pretend like we just accepted a quest. Now these options are already getting kind of big, and so we'll just ignore that fact for right now. But it's something to think about, is maybe we need a tabbed area or a list view where we can collapse stuff or something. That's maybe not a today problem. Okay, let's come into the options window and add the capability to pretend like we just accepted, completed, or failed a quest. Okay, draw. Actually, I should see, how are we doing stuff? Okay, so Hobnanigans equals local top margin equals 10. Hobnanigans equals top margin plus 0. We'll just say top margin. Fireworks equals Hobnanigans y plus 240. And then let's go ahead and move that on up. And then Pat Mayor equals fireworks y plus whatever the difference between those is. Let's call it 185. Okay, so ideally, then we can shove Hobnanigans down after a section, and all of these are just going to go ahead and move down. We can go ahead and test that first by loading it and making sure it looks correct. And then if Hobnanigans just moves down by 50, the rest of those sections should also move down by 50. Great. The other thing we want to do is make sure we have enough vertical space to cover all this. We can see already that we kind of don't. So we want to figure out where we're setting the height of this place. Okay. So we have a height of 500. That's actually not quite enough. What we really want is, well, first we'll call it 550. Great. But what we really want is maybe something a little bit more variadic. I don't know. We'll come back to that. Okay, so now we can go ahead and say local quest accept fail, accept succeed fail equals top margin, and then we can move this on down below that. Okay, and now we have a place where we can work. Great, we have a little bit of space where we can do stuff here. Okay, so we want to draw quest accept succeed fail. I'm using succeed, but I think that's the wrong word here. Complete. Yeah, that sounds correct. Okay, and with that, we can go ahead and awesome. Function, do the thing, parent, and we're going to just start with just the parent and see how much we need. So, just like with Hobnanigans, we're going to start with a header layer, and I'm just going to snip that right here. Quest testing. So, in fact, let's go ahead and rename that. We're going to go quest testing label. Great. And we've got, we'll call it options instead of parent. Great. And what do we have? Set text. Quest testing. And the other thing is we want to make sure we're in the correct Y orientation. Great. Now, we're going to stop with the label and see how that is going. It is. Okay, we just scrolled down. It remembered our position. All right, so quest testing. So let's go ahead and be maybe a little dynamic. We can go ahead and have a text area where we can type in the name of the quest that we want to accept, or complete or fail. And for that, we need to remember how to do a text area. Fortunately, I don't actually have to remember. We have the API documentation. Let's come on in here and open up turbine.ui, and we have a text box. Awesome. So that's what we're aiming for, is a turbine.ui.text box. Text box, there we go. Now, with any UI element, first thing we want to do is make sure it's parented. And that is, of course, going to be just the options dialog itself. Awesome. We need to go ahead and position it, set its size, that sort of thing. Quest name, set size. Probably just start out the same size as that label and see how that goes. Actually, really, I just want to set the width. And something I want to encourage everyone to do with text box is make sure multi-line is turned off if you don't want multi-line to be on. I see it, it's a really subtle thing, but like the filter box on my version of Prime Loot, this has probably been fixed in a later release, but my version of Prime Loot, the filter, you can press enter, because I'm really used to doing that, and it just makes a new line character, and which hides the current stuff. It scrolls up and makes you think it's not doing anything, and it's just, nope, it should have been a single line. So is set multi-line false. It'll just make life a little bit easier. And then finally we need a position of this thing, so set top, set top to be y, our local y. In fact, let's be a little bit nicer to ourselves. We've got local y equals quest acceptance fail. Great. And then we'll just start using y for those tops instead. All right, so we've got a thing. Let's see how that worked. It is not very visible because it's just the same background as everything else. I wonder if there's a way to fix that. For one thing, is there a turbine.ui.lotro text box? There is. That's going to be a little bit more skinned. Let's go ahead and switch on over to that. When in doubt, there's can be both the LOTRO skinned one or themed one, which does respond to skinning, and then just the raw bones one. Let's see. That's much better. Okay. But we do now have a height problem, so set size. We want that to be, say, 200, but let's bop it back down. What about 20? This is space for a quest. Bit small. Let's bump it up to 30. This is great. Okay, so that's space for our quest name. Now we just need 3 buttons to indicate that this is meant to be, we've just accepted it, or we're completing it, or we failed it. Bong. Hello, Rosenblum. I'm going to go ahead and disband us. Okay, so 3 buttons. 3 buttons are pretty easy to make. Let's go ahead and say y equals y plus 30. 35. Give it a little space. And now, local button accept equals is a turbine.ui.lotro.button. And again, button accept needs to have a parent, set parent. You'll be very sad if you forget that options. Okay, button accept. I don't actually know how big it's going to be, but set size, let's just pretend like 100 is a reasonable size. In fact, just set width. The default height's probably fine. Button accept, we want to set that position. And in this case, we know what the y is. The x0 is fine. Well, we can even bump it in a bit. 10. The y, we know what that y already is. We can cheat. And then finally, we need some text on there. Button accept. Set text, and that is just going to be accept. Okay, let's let's double check that we remembered how to make a button correctly. Awesome, there it is. Doesn't do anything yet, but we can go ahead and say button accept, and that is click. And we're going to say equals the function, the anonymous function with sender and args as parameters. And that's just going to, right now, do an easy turbine .shell .writeLine and say accept. Super easy. And then we can just do a quick copy paste of that for the other two buttons. Okay, so we want a button complete. Complete, and a button fail. Great. Complete. Whoops. And fail. Now, we do need to shove them along. I don't remember how wide these things are. Oh, but I don't have to. We know it's 100. So if we say that's 110 and 210, that'll give us buttons that are basically on top of each other. Yeah, that's probably fine. Let's make that initial text box a bit longer. Just, you know, little aesthetic thing, but let's make it about the same size. Well, that wasn't enough. You know what? Set position, and we'll bump that in by 10 too. All right. Only I will see this, but I might as well be happy with it. Okay, so we have the idea that we might do a bounder rounds. We might stick that in there, and then hit accept, complete, or fail. Cool. Okay, we have buttons that don't do anything yet, but that's the general idea. The other thing we want to do, as we're going to hook these up, is let's check the chat logger. This is the thing that's actually paying attention to stuff. Now we have functions like filter say, filter quest. Filter quest seems like the right place. So local new quest, local completed quest. This is something I noticed actually. If you fail a quest, we don't have a string for that. That's a problem. So for instance, we have new quest and completed quest. We need a failed quest equals, and I'm going to go ahead and, oops. Oh, there's tabs in this file. I forgot. I did record what that looks like. Failed : quest. So failed : and that is all. Now, the French and the German and the Russian, I'm not sure about. We could take a naive stab. Failed. Cool, we could do that. Or we could just leave it, because we can see those aren't filled in either. So if we come in here down to French, we might get a translation, but we might not get something that is correct. So we're just going to go ahead and leave it and come back in and fix that later, maybe. So we have failed, completed. Oh, we'll go ahead and do failed and failed. That is probably wrong, but it won't be any worse than we've got currently. Okay, cool. I'm all over the place, but that was just something I was thinking of was this chat logger isn't looking for failed quests. We do want it to eventually. Okay, so in filter quest, we get a message. We know what that looks like, so we can just call filter quest with the thing that we want from the options window. This isn't even in a class, we can just call it. Brenderberg in chat says, hello, how can I get this quests DB? I'm Not sure what you mean by that. Can you say that in different words? And while you do that, I'm going to go ahead and say filter quest, and we're going to go ahead and do accept. Oh, actually, I don't remember what those were. New quest, colon. We're going to come on in here to the chat. To the options window. That's going to be new quest colon. And you know what? I can't remember if we get a space or not. So let's come on in. Accept. And, oh, it's in a different window, but yes, it would look like new quest colon space the thing. So we're going to come on in here and concatenate in the quest name get text. Okay, and then we just need to do the same thing for the others. In the strings, we can see completed is one of them. Awesome. And finally, we know failed. And we know that from here. So we are now able to pretend like we just saw those in the chat text. So let's go ahead and open up our plugin manager again. Unload, reload, come on in, and we can go ahead and, you know what, let's go ahead and get that festival window open, /festival. And now, assuming I'm in the Farmer's Fair, I can go ahead and say Bounder Rounds. All right, Bounder Rounds. And accept. Cool. And by pretending, by just sending it along as if it came through the quest channel, we can see it went in there. If I hit complete, it's gone. Accept. Fail. Okay. So now we don't. So let's go ahead and save off this change to the options. This is good. The only thing is it's taking too much vertical space. Runnenberg. Oh, thank you. Okay. So you say in strings.lua you use quest description of quest. Yeah, so all of these strings here, for instance, well, these are the names of the quests. And also in quest strings, there's these descriptions of what to do for a quest. For instance, Bounder Rounds, here's what to do. The name of the quest comes from the game, although I don't always have the German or French names at hand. But this text in the box here, this is just, we come up with what text we want to see, and then we put it into the plugin. I don't know if, I'm not sure if that answered your question. Let's see. But I would say for English, of course, the wiki tries to have a very close match to actual text for a quest. But I don't know what the resources are out there for a German or a French client for that kind of a, oh, here's exactly what the quest text says. Okay. Moving on, while time happens. Okay. You are welcome. I hope that was helpful. If you have any other questions, stick around. All right, so we have the ability to look out for failed quests. Let's go ahead and pause and go to our source control and see what we've done. To our to-do file, actually. Quest. Okay. We didn't actually have a to-do for this, but be able to simulate accepting, completing, or failing quest. Cool. We've gone ahead and done that in the options. Oh yes, we were going to reduce how much space that was taking. Let's go ahead and knock it down to just 100 pixels and see if that's enough. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So all of these additions to options window, lovely. Oh, has the bottom scrolled off? The bottom has scrolled off. Okay, let's come on down here. There are better ways to handle this, but this is a quick and easy way. You can actually see how much space does this thing take and add up all the spaces and come up with a better answer. But that's a tomorrow problem. Okay, so we have the options window, and you know, if I was clever, I would not, I would make use of these strings that we have. So we have under quests, we can use that. So in the options window, instead of manually concatenating that together, and holy moly, when did that uncollapse? Okay, so we're instead going to go ahead and say that's lang, that's other, that's quests, I think. Nope. There we go. Lang quests, and that is accepted. New quest. Does that look correct? It does. New quest. All right, and then we just need, well, we could say English because it's me looking at this. But if we wanted this to actually work in one of the other clients and we had those terms, then we could go ahead and make use of that. Language, settings.language is what we're looking for. So settings.language, local term equals that. And then term is a bad name, but it was something. Then we need a space, and then the name of the quest. Oh, that's not going to work for French, is it? They've got other characters. It might work. Let's see. It'll be a starting point. More testing required. So new quest, we need a completed quest. Great. We're going to go ahead and concatenate that here. And then finally, we're going to have failed quest. Okay, so ideally, that should still work. If we come on in here, boundary rounds, accept, yep, complete, accept, fail. Okay, we're still not looking at fail, but that's okay. So coming back in, now is good for committing those. But we do want to remember not to take the debug options out of the options window. That would not be appropriate. So we want to go ahead and unstage that. Great. Everything else that was good. We've got the repositioning, we've got the new stuff, we've got a new height. Great. Let's do it. Be able to simulate accepting, completing, or failing a quest. Done. Except we need to actually respond to failing a quest. Fail. So, new thing, failed quests should clear the active quest too. So that is the new thing I want to work on. Great. So we already saw in ChatLogger where this might happen. We have a filter completed quests. We have filter new quests. I don't understand. Why do we keep processing it? Why is there no return here? What does Hopnanigans do with all that? Okay, it's also using this. Okay. Well, we'll just leave that as is then. So we have, oh, I lost it. Filter quest. So when in doubt, just copy what is currently there. Local fail quest equals string.find we're looking for in C message, and we're looking for this value. Except, of course, we want the fail version of it. Fail quest. And we want to use it in the same way. If fail quest is not nil, we found something, then filter failed quests C message. End. Now, I don't know that this is going to be any different than the completed quests, but we should track it differently just in case. Let's find where that is. This is actually in festival functions. So function filter failed quests, quest name. What will be different? Actually, I feel like there's a lot of similarities here. I do want to keep the difference because we might want to do something differently with a failed quest someday. But figuring out what it is, function find completed or failed quest, and that's going to be what are we looking for? We've got the whole C message. I gotta say, I am not entirely sure what's going on here. We're manually escaping dashes, parentheses, close parentheses, so that when we do a string.find, we don't accidentally use those in a pattern matching. That's delightful. All right. Huh. Surely there's a version of string.find that doesn't do pattern matching. Huh. Lua string.find, but no pattern matching. Hey, look, Stack Overflow is their Lua string.find without pattern. Cool. I don't know. Oh, string.find just has a enforced plain text search. Neat. I wonder if that's available in Lua 5.1. Let's find out. So string.find. Starting at the first character and true. Let's see if that's available. Something's not good. Okay, let me go ahead and shrink this up so we can see the error. It looks like something else though. This is festival functions. Ah, yes. Gonna need to put an end on that function. Okay, so if we come in here, boundar rounds, and go ahead and accept that. Well, it's no longer working. Nope, I just didn't spell round correctly. That's going to do it. Okay, complete, accept, fail, great. So, I feel like this effort to make sure that we don't have any special characters affecting a the pattern matching could be solved by saying don't do pattern matching. Am I missing something? Is there some other pattern matching that would be doing? Well, I mean, it's still just plain text. It's still pattern matching. That's so weird. Okay. We're going to go ahead and take a guess. So local use plain text find equals true, and then we're going to go ahead and do that. And again, local starting character equals 1, because I don't want to know what this 1 is, or I don't have to remember what that 1 is. Now, I do like separating parameters with spaces. It's just little bit nicer. And now we have finding in the quest name that we're passed. And I just don't like the name of quest name here. This is the chat message. Okay, so we're actually looking in for the selected quest, and this is the chat. We can just call it C message. That's what we're getting. Okay, so this is how I would refactor that to be a little bit more readable and a little bit more maintainable. No magic numbers, just what is that? It's the starting character. In fact, do we have... What is init? Wait a sec. View documents. Fantastic. Yeah, init I feel like is poorly named as well. I'm sure if you're fluent in Lua and using it every day, then you just know, oh, init, of course, that's the initial point at which you begin your search. But for my purposes, starting character is a little bit more easy for me to just read and be like, oh yeah, I know what's happening. Okay, so other thing I noticed is that this functionality here feels like it should be its own function. Like Arthur says, that should probably be called offset rather than init. I would agree with you, except my zero-based mind would see 1 as an offset of 1, not the initial character is the first character. I am not necessarily a fan of 1 indexing, but I accept that for the general target audience of Lua that might be easier, or for other reasons is better. And that's fine. You know, so often in Brace language histories past, 0 has been the same as null, which is its own problem, and also the same as false, which is its own problem. And if you just never start at 0, then when you do encounter a 0-like thing, you can just like, oh, that's weird. But in my head, I'm still starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyhow, yeah, so for me, starting character, you know, I could be even more obtuse and be like 1-based. Right? Like, this is the starting character in a 1-based system, except everything in Lua is 1-based, and I just need to remember that. But I had a system once where it was a C++ style system, and it was mixing 1-based numbers and 0-based numbers, and I can't remember why. It was like 2 systems meshing together, and it was super frustrating. And you just had to remember which numbers were 1-based and which numbers were 0-based, or have a class that took in either one, and you specified which one it was, and then gave back whichever one you wanted when you specified, yeah, give me a 0-based, give me a 1-based. I don't remember what was up with that system, but yeah. At least Lua is consistent about starting at 1. Yay. Okay, so this thing where we clear the active quest feels like it should be its own function. So I'm actually going to make a function clear active quest end, or selected, clear selected quest. Let's keep the same terminology. Otherwise, we'll be asking ourselves, what's the difference between an active quest and a selected quest? Cool. And these are the steps we want to take when we are clearing the selected quest. Setting the quest guide to blank, setting the dropdown to blank, yeah, the guide and the dropdown, the actual global variable that we're using to track this state, set that to blank, and then close any windows that need to be closed. Cool. I gotta ask though. Okay. I feel like there's more places where that might matter. Yes. We had done this for Hobnanigans, which I did not do on stream. Let me make that a little wider. So there was a close helper windows, which was emote assist parent and WQS assist parent, but also the fireworks window, which is new. And so again, close helper windows. We don't need to do these. Just if it, have a function that does a thing. So in this case, close helper windows closes any windows that are not the main window. Awesome. Okay. So we have, no, that needed to go in the helper function though. Okay, so we have a function clear selected quest, which does that. It sets selected quest to 0, or to empty string, the dropdown and the label, and closes those helper windows if they need to be closed. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and call that. Now, there's a comment here, match found, which is very useful if you're just learning Lua, I suppose, but I find it very strange. Also, do you have to compare it against nil, or can you not just say if a? All right, let's find out. I'm going to go ahead and unload, reload, coming back in. We're going to do boundar rounds, and we're going to go ahead and accept, and complete, and accept, and complete something different. Excellent. Now, a problem with this system, because we're not pulling out the name of the text quest explicitly, is that if you completed a different quest that had a longer name, like Boundar Rounds 2 Boundar Boogaloo, and then completed that, we would see that as completing Boundar Rounds. To my knowledge, none of the quests that we're interested in have that problem, but it is a side effect of how we're not doing a capture group to call out just the name of the quest that we found in the chat. We're just looking more broadly. Is the thing that is selected somewhere in that chat? It could come back to bite us. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So, now, you might ask, why are we capturing off A? You could just do a string.find, but that's already a pretty long line there. I would say A is not my favorite variable name, so find result, and then if find result, then clear selected quest. Awesome. That is a more understandable, for me, function at least. I'm even going to use a liberal amount of vertical white space here. Okay, so in that case, we do have a lot of the same stuff here for failed and completed quests. In fact, it's all the same. But let's go ahead and hoist out what we have here. Starting character, use plain text, find result equals cmessage, selected quest, and then return find result. Great. Then we get to say that local find result equals find complete or failed quest, and pass in that cmessage, and call it a day. But then we do have a short enough line here where we could probably just go ahead and say if that, then go ahead and do the thing. Okay. Now, does it make sense to have two completely identical functions here? Maybe not. I think now that this function is so simplified, we could go ahead and not have two of them for now, and then if we care about the difference between failed and completed later, maybe go ahead and pop it in. But if we say completed or failed quests here instead, get rid of this completely identical function, and then just pop that over into the chat logger. Whoopsie. So if conquest equals null, then filter that. If fail quest, then that. Okay. That might be all we actually need. If we unload and reload, if we have, again, a boundar rounds, and we accept it, we complete it, we accept it, we fail it. What happens if we complete it and it's not there? Nothing. What about fail, not there? Nothing, because we don't have an active string. Okay, I say nothing, but if our active quest is empty, then it should match with everything. So, if I come back in here and just do a turbine.shell.writeLine, and say that we're in here, and then I do another turbine.shell.writeLine in here, found a match. I'm a little curious about that. So if we go ahead and load, and again, boundar rounds is easy enough. Accept, complete, found a match, completed again, found a match. Yes, so empty string will always match. Now, this is a case where we're checking to see if our quest matches when we don't have a quest. And that could be solved in a couple different ways. For instance, we could pay attention before we try to do these pattern matchings to say, well, we can't complete or fail a quest that we know of if we don't have one in the first place. So, if we're getting a new quest, we kind of by definition aren't going to be completing or failing one in the same chat message. So, if we bring up complete and fail and put it behind an if selected quest is not equal to empty, then do these things. But if it is empty, then we can't need those. Now, that is kind of unnecessary. And also apparently going to break something. 72. Yeah, just typed a character. This is kind of unnecessary, right? We don't need this kind of optimization, but it feels a little weird to be actually trying to clear the UI in that case. On the other hand, it's such a small, it's a small thing. I'm going overboard is basically what I'm saying. All right, but on the plus side, if we complete that, found a match, press it again, we didn't find a match. Found a match, didn't find a match. So I feel like not doing work if it's not appropriate to do it makes some amount of sense here. But let's look and see what the change was in the actual source code and see how was it worth it. Okay, so failed quests. We can now accept failed quests. Awesome. So failed quest is good. In the chat logger, we're going to go ahead and, check to see if we even have a quest to complete or fail, and then do those, but also doing the fail. Great. We've gone ahead and added the helper function, clear selected quests, find complete or failed quests instead of find, and then filter completed or failed quests. All of that. And hopefully, made it slightly better. We'll see. Awesome. One more thing done. Okay, so I'm just going to push those out just so I don't lose them in case of lightning strike. All right, so we're going to go ahead, come on back into our source control and see what is next. Okay, so this was the thing. Now that we can simulate quests, if we are on the Farmer's Fair in the Festival Buddy UI and accept Bounder's rounds, great. But if we're on some other thing like Spring, like the default thing where the festival comes up, and we accept that, nothing happens. And I think that's actually not user-friendly. It means every time you start a new festival, for each character, you're going to have to explicitly choose that festival. Seems like a pain. Why bother? We know better. So what I'd like to do is just go ahead and just check against all of the quests. Now, there's a question of organization here. It feels like if this had been organized to say this thing equals spring or something, or equals spring, and then there was another lookup table, we could just do a simple table check to say, does this quest name exist? Instead, we're just going to have to go through each of these tables, spring, summer, harvest, mass, Yule, and see if any of them match. It's not going to take very long. We can do hundreds of these checks, and the user probably won't even notice. But it is helpful if you're using Festival Buddy. You're probably in a festival, so this is a reasonable thing to do. Okay, so where are we looking at this? In the chat logger, we already saw we're looking for filter new quest. So that's a good place to go. That's in festival functions. And what we're looking for is instead of looking in the selected festival, or possibly we could do that first. Let's see. Do we go through all of them, or do we try to be smarter and make it more complicated by going to the first one first? Probably. Oh, and we're doing it again. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I just was noticing that we're using that same better escape everything technique. God, no, that's fine. We're gonna go ahead and use starting character and use plain text to find, and then let's see, quest name. Again, this is just C message. We're checking the chat, and I think hiding that is not helpful. Okay, so we're looking in C message for, and this again is going to be quest to check. And we're going to get rid of all that. Find a result. Okay, so we are looking. We're looping through with key values in this here, but instead of doing a break here, if we do a return, then we can add another loop that just loops through all of the festivals. Now, do we have such a thing? Let's find out. That might actually be harder because, what do we have? Yes, we have a festivals table here. Good. So inlaying festivals for KV in pairs, lang festivals do, and just to remind myself what this is going to do, we're just going to do a turbine.shell.writeLine, and we're going to say k is k, and v is v, and just get a sense of what that looks like. Okay, and we can trigger that again by doing a new quest. So we're going to do an accept. Haha, whoops. Founder rounds. Let's go ahead and type something in. Okay, so there is an error over there. Line 47. Great. Oh, v is a table value. Dump that. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to see, for each one. So what we really want is v is a setting, can be referenced by v settings language. All right, accept, and what do we have? All right, so we just have, and again, in no particular order, we have 6, 2, 3, 1, 4, 5, 7. I say it's in no particular order. I mean, that really does look like a binary tree, with spring being at the top, and then you got your, anyway. Arthur asks, could the reminders plugin be loaded with the event calendar and set the festival start/end for Festival Buddy? I think I'd be hesitant to make Festival Buddy dependent on reminders. Reminders can be very powerful, but also if you're just a simple festival player and all you want to do is do the festival, saying we'll only automatically detect the festival if you also have reminders, feels like overkill when we can just loop through all of the quests and see if they match. I agree, that'd be interesting. If the quests were always at a reliable time, if the festivals were always at a reliable time each year, then I think that could be interesting. Like Durin's Day. Durin's Day, I think, should always be the same date every year, although I think it was based on a lunar calendar anyway. But I think they have said it's going to be this day every year. So if you had Durin's Day stuff in the festival buddy, maybe you could try to pay attention to like what's the current date time. Other than that, I feel like trying to look at the calendar day and say what festival could we be in is overkill. But it's an interesting idea. That's sort of my off the top of my head. What do I think about? What do I think about this? It's not a no, but it's not from me. I'm gonna have to pass on that. Okay, so what are we seeing? We're seeing that we can go ahead and just iterate through festivals and get out the key that we want to use. So let's do that. So that's local current festival equals, and in fact, we could just call it that, right? Festival number, festival name, festival names, I should say. And then if we wanted it, we could say festival name equals that, but I actually don't care about that one. So let's go ahead and wrap up this other end. And we're going to go ahead and use festival number instead of selected festival. And we're just going to iterate through all the festivals. There's not that many quests or festival quests in here. And we'll do it like that. I wonder, do you have to have that second parameter? Probably. Okay, now I've got myself curious about something else. So we're going to do two things. So turbine, shell dot right line. I regret deleting things. Okay, I want to see what that looks like with and without festival names being added here. I think I understand what it would do, but let's see. Great. Unload, reload, and let's go ahead and get a new quest. Okay, yes. Great. So what we're saying is that if you leave off the second parameter, everything iterates through the same way. You just only have the keys, which you'll need to manually use yourself. And that's fine. Okay, so now that we're possibly done with that change, if we unload, reload, come on in and say boundar rounds, except we're so close. Boundar rounds got populated, but we're not in the right place. So we do need to now check for the festival as well. So if we found something, then if, well, we could just say refresh festival, and that's going to be with the festival number. Yes, yes, festival number. Because what we want to do is, if that's not equal to the selected festival, we want to go ahead and select that. Now, we don't actually have one of those, but wouldn't it be neat if we did? Okay, so function refresh festival, and that is festival number. So first thing, if festival number equals selected festival, then no, we don't, return end. But other than that, what did I do wrong? Oh, then, of course. But assuming those are different, we do want to go ahead and do this thing. Now, what do we do with that? Do we have a drop down? We have a function for fill the main window. Okay. Do we have DD festivals? We do. All right. So if we set the item, I am curious if this will trigger. I can't remember if it does. So let's go ahead and do turbine.shell.writeLine and then say dd festivals.item changed called. And then we can just track what's happening. For instance, if I change this manually to summer, we're going to see item change called. Awesome. So what ew, that's a lot of fish. I have been fishing. So what we want to do is go ahead and change it programmatically and make sure we're still seeing this functionality called. Okay, so what are we doing? Filter, no, refresh festival. Very good. So we have a DD festivals that we want to go ahead and set, set something. Oh, it is a drop down. Okay. I don't remember how that works, but we know it's coming from here. Dropdown.lua. So, dropdown, we have some functions, hopefully, that are going to be helpful. Aha. Set text. That's possible. Does set text do something? Well, we can sure try. Okay. We're going to go ahead and call set text on it. Why not? And you know what? I'm just going to say farmers Faire, just to short circuit this. We need the actual value. Okay, so boundar rounds. We'll go ahead and say accept. Now we can see farmers Faire got populated, but it didn't get triggered. We didn't get this item change event happening. So that's an incomplete. Let's see, set max items text visible with, all right, item changed. So programmatically, the question of how do we change this is still outstanding. All right, so we're setting a table. So where's this coming from? Well, how are we using that item changed function? Are we using sender? No. Are we using args? Selected festival equals args.index. Okay, so we can just do args.index. Yeah, okay. Let's give that a try. So we need an args, local args equals that, and args.index equals festival number. And we're going to go ahead and send that nil and args. So let's see if that does what we want. We're going to go ahead and reload that. Rounds. Okay. So that did result, of course, in item change being called because we called it. Ideally, a dropdown will expose a function so you can programmatically change it and not trigger the callback, but also programmatically change it and do trigger the callback. A robust UI system will hopefully have both of those options. So if you want to change it but not trigger all the logic, that's fine. And if you do want to trigger all that logic, that's available too. But sometimes you'll want to break short loops where you're in a thing that would be called by the thing being changed, and you don't want to be re-entering. Anyway, so we have don't do this if we're already the thing, and then we're just making an args. In fact, we could probably consolidate that. Great. And load that back up. Now, what's another thing? Forgotten errands. Okay. So if we accept that, okay, we need to go and get the correct name for Refresh Festival, of course. No. Oh, interesting. So we need to do both. We need to call set text and, okay. We can call the callback, but that doesn't change the name, and vice versa. Okay, I gotta go back into this drop down and see. So item changed, yeah. Item changed. Well, I'm not going to change the library dropdown right now, but I do think that'd be a worthwhile update, assuming it hasn't been updated in the 10 years since that was incorporated into here. It probably has. Okay, so instead of DD festivals, we do want to set that text. And we have the festival number, but remember, we do want to use these strings. So we're doing lang festival. Oops. So we're doing lang festivals. We're using festival number. And then we're doing settings language. Okay, great. So that'll give us, hopefully, both of it, setting the name and triggering the changes when something changes. All right, Bounder rounds. Let's go ahead and accept that. Great. Farmer's Fair here has changed. We've gotten the icons that we're looking for. If we got forgotten forgotten errands, that's what it was. Cool. We can see we've switched to summer, and we've gone ahead and switched the quest over here. Now, if we instead just do belongings, gone fishing. Great. Just the quest changes, but we short-circuited that by saying, oh, that's the same festival. Don't do that. Okay. So, accept, fail, accept, complete, awesome. So what we've got here is we've got some output that I forgot to clear out. That's not great. Item changed called. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Found a match. Where did I leave that? Okay, we don't want that. Let's come back in and see if that was all of it. Okay, so removed some of that extra debug stuff that snuck in there. Okay, so now we've got more complicated, or more stuff to do every time a quest is accepted, completed, just accepted. More stuff to do every time a quest is accepted. But as a trade-off, this automatically will go ahead and just be on the festival if you accept a quest. And so if you've got a dozen alts like I do, you don't have to go and manually change the festival, try to remember which one you're on. It just works. So I'm really looking forward to using this. I don't know what's next, Harvest Math? Whatever it is. I'm looking forward to that. Let's see what the actual results in code were. First of all, we've got a couple of debug statements here. Don't want to forget about those. Okay. So, removed debug statements. Cool, done. What else? In order to do, when a quest is accepted, check for any festival, not just the current one. Maybe make this an option. Now, the one thing I thought was maybe this should be an option. Maybe people should be able to opt out of it. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. We're checking, a few dozen instead of half a dozen kind of quests. It's just not a lot of extra processing. And you don't accept quests that often. So I'm going to play around with it this week and see if I change my mind after doing it a bunch. But for now, I think no need to make an option for that. When request is accepted, check for any festival. check in any festival. Not just, I'll make that a comment. Not just the current one. Okay, and that is going to be this filter new quests. I want to look at that side by side. It's a little hard for me to see it inline like that. Okay, so we're doing an extra loop. We went ahead and changed the name of the parameter to better reflect what we're getting. Someone just wanted me to come heal Thrang. That's very generous. Only tier 1. They knew better than to ask me for tier 2. Okay, we'll use some stuff here. We're explicitly saying use plain text find. Awesome. I'll have to check for quests that have dashes in them or parentheses and make sure that's still behaving correctly. Actually, I say that. Do any of these have that? Stomp a shrew. Okay. An enormous something. Stomp a shrew for the leisurely gardener. Okay, I'm going to need to get the name of that for a second. All right, we're on pause because I do need to test this. Should have done it before. Leisure. Okay, stomp a shrew for the leisurely gardener. There's plenty of hyphens in here. Let's make sure I didn't break something. We're going to come on over here for anniversary. All right, stomp a shrew for the leisurely gardener. Accept. Great, it worked. Great, complete, it's gone. Oh, beautiful, love it. Okay, with that being said, we eliminated all of this, and then if find results, refresh festival, refresh quest guide, and then return because we don't want to keep on doing stuff. There was a break here that will only break out of the current for loop. We want to break out of any number of loops there. Awesome. That's all great. That's great. We do need that refresh festival function. I feel like some comments are in order, so I don't have to rediscover what that was, though. Refresh festival. So, update the text of the dropdown, and then trigger the item changed logic of the dropdown. Okay, so I at least know why I'm doing all of that. Awesome. Done. We're rapidly approaching 2 hours. All right, have to do double time. No, that's a bad idea. We'll have to do one next time. Okay, so a thing I would like to do is, in fact, let's order these in this. I will oftentimes during the, I will oftentimes during the Farmers Fair Festival not be using the festival buddy. There's only a few quests that I actually care. Bounder Rounds and Fat Mare, definitely want those. And the 3 lists, the shopping list, vendor list, and market list. I use this for those quite a lot. But specifically, Fat Mare and Bounder Rounds just for the alert. I don't care about the quest text. But market list, shopping list, and vendor list, I use these a lot. I have the first half of it memorized for them, but the second half, definitely not. And maybe this is hindering that a little bit. So I would love for this to automatically pop up if I accept the quest. And I think what that looks like, actually, what do I care more about? Mare and Bound Rounds or this? I think for my workflow, I actually care more about the other. So let's try to solve that problem. I'm going to change my mind. I would like the chat monitoring of the Fat Mare and Bound Rounds to keep going even while I've got a different quest up. And so for that, I need the idea of pinning it in place. And so what I want is, first of all, I don't even know if pinning is the right term. I want it to keep on monitoring chat until that quest goes away. And so first of all, I'll need to remember that the quest is active, even if it's not the selected quest. Will I? Oh, I don't know what the right way to do this is. Let's assume that if it malfunctions, worst case, you just log off and log back on and it resets itself. As far as knowing whether or not you've got the quest active. Maybe we'll make it so if you go to the quest explicitly, it'll override it, and then you can disable it. That's an interesting one. Oh, that's fun. Trying to figure out how this is going to work on the fly. So what I want is going to bound around. I want this to keep going. I want it to persist even if I'm looking at something else. So I guess a checkbox, kind of like quest tracking. Oh, it would be more like a ring, wouldn't it? Well, I don't know if I have access to one of those. But yeah, like a checkbox on one side of this to say, keep going. And thinking ahead to the other feature, I want a second checkbox somewhere that says, if I accept this quest, open up the Festival Buddy dialog. That, I don't have a lot of space to work with here. Let's go look at the LOTRO checkbox and see if it'll inspire me at all. It didn't. I mean, really, there's space on either side of that dropdown, but I have no space for a label, so it would just be these two random checkboxes, and that doesn't feel like good design. Could be at the bottom. Just checkbox here, checkbox here. Okay, I think that's going to do it for me. So for that, we're on the main window. And we do need a couple of new strings. Let's see, where is dance and barter? Buttons, there we go. So we need first one, we need this to be background, I guess, equals, and we're going to go ahead and have an English one, English equals background. That's a terrible, but it's going to have to work for right now. And the second one will be auto launch or something. Auto open. And for that, we want this in English. Oh, I broke that. Okay. In English, we want that to just add an auto launch, auto open. Now, there is a possibility for hover over text in this plugin. I don't know where it does it, but I've seen it. Oh, it has alt information. That's cool. Harvest Math. Okay, I don't remember. I could have sworn there was, but that's okay. So we've got background, we've got auto open. That's good enough for now. Let's go ahead and make some checkboxes and see how that works. So what we want to do in the main win is figure out where is this stuff happening. Let's go ahead and move this window so I can see it at the same time. We've got the area with the dropdown. So DD quests. We know this is happening in the fill main win. We've got DD quests, we've got the label guide, We've got the scroll bar for that. Awesome. So where is fill main window happening? Yep, okay, so we're in the right place. So the label quest guide is going to have to be a little bit smaller than 120, and then we'll make the room for it right below that. No, we'll just do it in there. That's fine. Will we? We have a Turbine UI LOTRO checkbox. Let's go ahead and just start throwing stuff on the screen and see if that helps resolve my dilemma. We have the background checkbox equals, and that, again, Turbine UI LOTRO checkbox. And parallel, we're going to go ahead and do local auto open checkbox. Great. We want to go ahead and remember to set each of their parents. So background checkbox, set parent. Everything else seems to be W main win holder. That's fine for my purposes. Great. And we want to go ahead and set their positions. And for our purposes, at the bottom of this area is fine. So part of me wonders if... No, I think I'm good. Now, what I'm not going to be able to get to today, I don't think, is the persisting of these settings in a save file. But I've got to think about how we're going to do that while this is happening. So background checkbox. First of all, we're going to go ahead and set text. And that's going to be in the strings somewhere. And a problem I have with all these nested tables is I'm not exactly sure what this buttons is a child of. So we're just going to scroll up. Okay, that's under quests. Good to know. I think that's wrong, but you know, lang quests dot buttons. Yeah. And then in there we have background auto open. Okay, background. And then here we just have the settings dot language that we have for everything, and we're good. Same thing there, but for the auto open, we do want that to be auto. Nope. Auto open. Okay, well, I think that's not quite right yet, but yep, buttons was not right. Okay, where is this? Oh, maybe it's at the same level as quests. All right, that's what it is. That makes more sense. Okay. Yep, and we can see that auto and open exist up here, and we want them down here. So, first of all, we do need to change their size. Background checkbox. Set width. We want that to be more like, I don't know, 100. Let's start with that. And auto open checkbox, we want to make that also the same width. And position-wise, background checkbox, set position. We want that to be at the bottom of where we are. Now we know the position of this thing was 18 and then stuffing things. So if we go ahead and say that's also 18 over, and label quests guide get top plus label quest guide get height minus 20, then it should pop us right back up. Let's go ahead and pretend like that's going to work over here. But here we want to go ahead and bump it over a lot more. So we're just going to say 100 and see if that's anywhere close. Okay, we are, actually that's not bad. So we didn't pop up nearly enough. Instead of minus 20, let's go ahead and do minus 40 for both of those. And in fact, no need to calculate that twice or do it inline. Let's go ahead and say local checkbox y equals, and that's live across guide at top plus height minus 4, and then our set position is just checkbox y. Awesome. And then we can change them both with one go. Same thing with the position though. We want to go ahead and bump that over and maybe make it variadic. We'll see. All right, background, yeah, that's not over far enough. So, local background checkbox x equals, let's say 40. Pop it in here. And the other one, of course, is the auto open checkbox x. And we're going to pop that in there. And it was 150. Let's pop it open and see what happens. That's actually not bad. But let's draw that back in. Separate them out a little bit. Okay. I would say that's fine for my purposes, except we are, of course, on top of text. We need to shrink that down. But these are not as far down as they could be. I think 40 was stepping it back too much. Let's try and squeeze those down to the bottom as best we can. Okay, that's much better. And then we're using 30 here. Let's go ahead and not subtract the 30 from there. Instead, let's subtract the 30 from the height of this thing. So local quest guide height equals, and we can see the size is 120 minus 30, and that's going to be for the checkbox height. Local, well, save room for checkboxes. Let's see how that goes. It sure didn't. Oh, of course, we need to actually use it. So set size, there we go. Okay, so we can see those are there, and if I go ahead and load up the bound arounds, we can see we do have a scroll bar here. But there's more pixels at play here. So let's go ahead and say we're only going to back it off 20. And we're going to have to change the spacing on those checkboxes in return there. I don't know. Well, it almost is enough. Let's go ahead and bounce these down a little bit, like 18 or something. Let's play around with that. I would almost say let's bring the text up a little bit, except I wouldn't want that most of the time. Okay, we'll play around with that. And so, what do we want? We want these, checking these things to do something. And ideally, it would keep doing it for that quest after logging off, but we'll just start by making it work. And so, what's the first one? Auto open. If auto open is set for, okay, where are the settings? So how is this going to be stored? Do we have a save file? We might not. We must have a save file because it remembers where we are. So we have a saved data. Let's go on in here. We have we have the settings, character data. Yeah, that's saved at the character level. That's perfect. So let's go look at settings. Looks like that's defined in globals. Personally, if I was defining a massive settings object right now, maybe I would prefer to put it in settings.lua, but it is findable. So we have a settings here. And so we have a default settings. And what would this look like? Is quest quest is auto open equals, and we would want that to basically look like the index that we're using for these quest strings, I think. So if we go to boundar rounds, I'll have to go back to the strings. All right, boundar rounds. What have I done wrong? There we go. So this would end up being true. So going into globals, it would be like boundar rounds equals true. And ideally, if it's false, it's just not in there. And so quest is auto open, boundar rounds equals true. But actually, if we're doing that, why is it saying, oh, of course, I'm in the wrong one. How did that happen? Strings, there we go. So we have a shopping list, a market vendor, a market list, and a vendor list. Those are the ones that I want to pretend like are true. And then we also have background. So quest is backgroundable equals, and I think same thing. We would just come in here and say for this quest index, that's true for these two. So that's what I would hope to see in settings, but for right now I'll put it into default settings so it's something I can play around with. And we're coming up on the hour here, so this might not go too much further tonight, but that's sort of my goal, is we can say quest is auto open, and then when we get the thing, if this value in this setting is true, then awesome. And when that checkbox is clicked, then it changes the value in this array. So we have a place to find it. It's not going to be in settings yet, but it's in default settings, which should get copied over. Maybe. We'll see. That's an interesting idea. If I unload, and then I load and unload, let's go take a look at my character information. So this is in Documents, Lord of the Rings Online. We're going into plugin data, and we're going to go into Treebeard for Affadel and look at the Festival Buddy settings. Okay, so what do we have here? Oh, there's a lot of stuff in here, actually. But what we don't have are those default values. So I'm going to just nip them on over, actually. Okay, what does this look like? These are comma-separated entries. Awesome. Let's go ahead and format this as if it's going to match up. Okay, we do have quest is backgroundable. Awesome. Quest is auto open. Now I'm questioning myself if they were actually there and I missed them. So I'm going to go ahead and delete them from here. Go ahead and reload this and unload background. No, it was not. Great. Okay, so that tells us we can go ahead and load this and unload. I do need to remember to actually save this, otherwise it's not going to work. All right, load, unload, and that data is going to persist. Awesome. So quest is auto open, quest is backgroundable, and that's going to be accessible here. So for auto open, we're going to go ahead and start playing around with that as if we have it. So for festival function, if we have the filter new quest, then probably in refresh quest guide, we want to go ahead and check to see if we are going to open stuff up. Let's see. Filter quest equals that. If it quest, oh, okay, is that text? Quests equals that. We're going to iterate through. Awesome. Okay, so if requested, make sure window is visible. If, and what is quest name going to be in this case? But this, oh, we might, oh, we're looking up the case. Structured stuff. That's a problem. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use K over here then, I think. So we're probably going to move this on down here. But just to make sure, we're going to go ahead and do a turbine.shell.writeLine, and that is in refresh quest guide. And we're going to go ahead and concatenate in K there. Great. And then we're going to go ahead and say just boundar around. Great. Accept. And we can see, yes, that key is exactly the key we need to use to get into the settings. Okay, so if settings dot and okay. So first of all, do we need a function that merges some sort of default value in? Maybe no. I'll just say if that is not equal nil, and settings dot that indexed by k, then either it would have to both be not nil. Oh, don't use braces. What are you doing? Yeah, so it's going to be not null, and it's going to be set to true. If it's nil or if it's false, this isn't going to work. Then we can go ahead and whatever it is we do to make this window visible. All right, so where do we do the, well, we've got the chat logger, but we need a chat command. Where are those done? All right, register commands, great. That's in commands, awesome. And what do we do when we get /festival? All right, execute. Set visible is true. And update that. Boy, it sure seems like that should be in a helper function somewhere, doesn't it? Does seem like that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pop commands over there. what we want is this concept of, oh, and the helper windows. Helper windows should also be better done. So we're going to go ahead and have a function. Maybe not there. Maybe after fill main window. Let's collapse things down a little bit. Draw main window, fill main window, close helper windows. There we go. Function. Okay. Set main win visible. And that's going to be very similar to these functions. So, is visible. So we have if w main win parent making it visible is different than hiding it. And really, this hiding it's got a bug on me. Set visible false versus close. Why? That's funny. Does that mean if I come on in here to anniversary and do the fireworks and brie and then type /festival, yep, it doesn't hide it. Okay. But it should. So we're going to go ahead and say close helper windows and just go ahead and do this correctly. Okay. So first of all, if this is the same as what we are, then don't worry about it, right? So if w main win parent get is visible, local current state equals current is visible. Cool. If and let's make that new is visible. If new is visible equals current is visible, then return end. Okay. Otherwise, obviously we're toggling. We can just get into the logic. So if it's visible, if the current one is false, and again, we can just use the current. If current visible is false. And again, why are we checking if false? We could invert this and just check if current is visible. We'll keep it as is right now. Okay. So we're going to set visible to true. We're going to set the main visible as true. We're going to go ahead and activate those windows. This would be a good place to activate that firework one, maybe. We'll come back to that. Otherwise, set it to false, close the helper windows, set that setting, go ahead and put those settings together for consistency, and there we go. So in the commands, we want to go ahead and just call set main when visible, not w main when parent is visible. That'll give us the behavior that we want. But that means now we can call this function where we want to, and we'll get the same result. So auto open, I think it was. There we go. So if auto opens on, then set main visible equal to true. And again, that'll just exit out if it's already visible. I don't know. That seems overly simplistic. Let's see if it works. So what are we looking for? It was, let's see. I said auto open a shopping list. Okay. How's the spelling on that? A shopping list, capital everything. All right. A shopping list. Complete. No, accept. Complete. Great. So, go ahead and close this. Accept. Oh, that worked. That's pretty cool. Complete. Okay, go ahead and close it. Accept. Oh, that's so good. Same thing. We wanted a market list. So now we're going to be changing quests. We're going to accept that. It appears. Let's go ahead and go to Spring. Let's just do the whole thing. Accept. We're in Farmer's Fair. It's a market list. It's visible. That's going to be really cool. Because those 3 market ones, those are pretty much the only ones I want to open for. The rest of these not. And once we have the background ability set, that's going to really streamline my festivaling. This is good. Okay, so other thing. The quest is backgroundable. Okay, so in the chat logger, done with this command thing, in the chat logger, we respond to quests. Do we? No. Usually for say, actually. So, selected quest. Oh, that one's harder. So we need a list of quests we think we have started but have not yet completed in order to make this work. And I think that's going to take more time than I have to throw at this tonight because I still have to prepare for class tomorrow. So I think we're going to pause here in the work that we're working on, which is kind of a combination of these two. And we still need to do, okay, need to add, do we? Need to hook up state of checkbox to settings, and that is initial value and changed value, and that would actually be enough for that. Note, it would be nice if deselecting deleted entry from table. Okay, and the ability to pin the quest, need to track which quests have been accepted but not completed/failed since logon. I am not interested in storing that in settings anywhere. I guess, oh, am I? Oh, I don't think I am. But I guess this is targeted towards someone who's doing festivals a lot and is just going to finish the quest. But what if you log off and then you log back on? I think you're just, I think it's not going to work. Okay, well, we'll call it. Don't worry about persisting that, but we need to track which quests have been accepted but not completed or failed. And then if background quest is started but not finished, then chat monitoring can continue. Add is backgroundable flag to quests, so the checkbox only shows up where it makes sense. Like, making it backgroundable for the market list is meaningless since we're not doing anything in the background. Okay, I like that. That's a fine amount of things to work on maybe next week. Okay, so let's go ahead and pause what we're doing here. We're not going to do any of the commits yet, except maybe the to-do file itself. To-do file. But the rest of this, and that is, oh, that's funny. That's why it didn't work, maybe. Somehow, one of the challenges is I've got multiple gal had plugins here, and I had the wrong one open. All right. So in the default settings, we want that to be more like this. Okay. That's better. And get it out of there. Okay. So we've got some strings to think about. We've got main win stuff to think about, globals, and command changes. Now some of those, the set main win visible, I'm happy with that, but I'll just double check it as I'm playing over the next week and make sure I didn't miss anything in my haste. So, okay. Taraxine asks a question in the chat. I do not. Thank you for asking though. Okay, so I would say we're coming up on the end of this stream all about the Festival Buddy plugin. So if you have any last minute thoughts, questions, and concerns about it or plugins in general, just throw them into chat there. Otherwise, we can pick it up next week. I'm going to grab a drink of water while any of that is coming on in. Oh, that's funny. It looks like I left some debug stuff in here. Where is that? Nope. What was that? Refresh quest guide. Okay. Accept, complete, accept, fail. Okay, that must have been an old write line that I have already removed. Excellent. Little Red Head in chat says, I've been really liking using Festival Buddy with your patch for this festival, so thank you. You're welcome. It's been very handy, especially for these market lists, but also, if you haven't tried this out yet, the bound around becomes almost trivial. In fact, I've got it up right now. Why not come on over here? Wait, I don't have it up, but I'm about to. Okay, bound around. If you are familiar with this, if you're not familiar with this, then you're looking for hobbits that are behaving disreputably. And a thing you can do is just look at every hobbit and what they say, or you can use this and say, okay, which one just said fresh licked vegetables? It's this one. Remember that you can do each drunkard up to 3 times if you are fast enough. So we're really, to get our 7 drunkards, we're really only looking, yep, that was fast enough, for 3 hobbits. So, again, just stand around. This is a perfect one to combine with the Fat Mayor quest, because he only emotes once a minute. Waste the victuals. There we go. Up in the distance there. I didn't have to read every hobbit's text. I could just go. It's number 1. That's number 2. And nope, I was too slow on the 3rd one, so that's not going to count. So I do need to get a 3rd hobbit, and I can just, again, come back to the center here. Oh, I failed it because I was... Oh, sometimes those hobbits are standing next to another hobbit.
I have a word with you.
Alright, taste a munchroom. There we go. Alright, make sure I get the right one this time. Okay, so then come back to the center, wait for another one. And again, this is because the plugin is just parsing this out. I don't have to pay attention. The say channel here is filled with hobbits chattering about, but only a few of them are actually a little bit too deep in their cups. Waste the victuals. Where is it? Aha, there it is. So, waste the victuals. Okay. Drunkard accused, 4 out of 7. Accidentally deselected it. Oh, not going to get that triple. That's okay. You do need to keep selected on them, and then I just use the use button on my keyboard so I can time it, or just, really just hit it a couple of times to make sure I do it again. All right. Lots of chatter, as we can see, in front and behind. None of them are triggering. Aha! There's I burped. Ha ha ha! Right in front of us. Where is it? This one probably was my problem last time. Okay. Accuse. J'accuse. J'accuse. There we go. So 3 hobbits with the extra accusing, and then we're just done. So that feels so much less intensive for me because I'm not looking at all these bubbles, trying to remember what the wrong thing is. Are any of them even drunk right now? Instead I just, oh, there it is. I mean, if I could make it go ding, I might, but that's hard to do without a third-party application. So that's that. That is the Festival Buddy. I'm glad, Little Redhead, you're enjoying it. I'm certainly finding good use out of it. All right, nothing else has popped into chat. Thank you all so much for the chat that you have done. All right, what do we have today? That's pretty much it on the Tuesday streaming. So that's everything we're going to cover today. Thank you all so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins and the Festival Buddy plugin in specific. I do hope to see you here next week. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.